So today we're going to be talking about social vitality in relationships. And we're getting into summer. We just starting the summer seasons. And so this is a good time for us to just kind of go and do like a quick assessment or reevaluation on our social vitality and how we feel overall. And how we are forming relationships, how we feel about ourselves, and how our relationships that we currently have are holding up. And during the pandemic, some of our relationships may have been reshaped or altered just by having restrictions in place. So we might not have been able to go and spend time with our loved ones, go and spend time with our friends, have those lunch dates that we would have with our friends, have family gatherings that we had prior to the pandemic. So a lot of relationships were altered, and this could cause strain to be placed on a relationship. So, we have to. At this time, just kind of reassess things. We're moving into the season where it's becoming a little more safer to be around those that we love, our friends and our loved ones. More people are taking the steps needed to be safe so that we're able to spend that time with our loved ones. And so today I just want to kind of talk about social vitality in our relationships. And so we might say, well, we've learned some things during this time where we had to stay home. We were restricted from as much travel and interaction as we had before. So maybe we've learned some things about ourselves during this time that we didn't really necessarily think about before. Maybe we've had time to sit at home and think about those relationships that we have with others, our friendships, make the determinations if we want to keep those same friends around, or if we want to have that interaction with those that we love as much as we did prior to COVID. So we can learn things from our past and use those things to help us move forward in a healthier way. And so, talking about social vitality, we want to think about talking about ourselves first. um, Taking care of ourselves and our vitality, how we care for ourselves, how we feel about ourselves in order to take care of our family and our loved ones. So, one of the things to remember is that just taking time to put yourself first is not a selfish act. This is something that many of us have maybe been taught, or maybe it's just been kind of looked upon as a selfish act if you put yourself first. But that's not always the case. We have to take care of ourselves. If you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. No one is going to take care of you the way you take care of yourself. So putting yourself first is not being selfish. Whether that is, getting up a little earlier in the morning to have a quiet time before your children and family members wake up, putting music on, relaxing music, taking just a spa day for yourself, treating yourself, taking that time to organize your thoughts and have that time for yourself where you really reflect on you and how you're feeling, how you're dealing with things, processing where you are with life, whether it's with your job, your family, some goals that you want to reach, just having that time for yourself. And we have to understand that our personal relationship, our individual relationships with ourselves is the primary and the most important foundational relationship we have. If we don't have a good relationship with ourselves, if we don't take care of ourselves, we don't understand ourselves, then our relationships with others could be affected and will be affected because we have to first take care of ourselves and understand ourselves. During this pandemic, maybe you created some new things, some new norms for yourself, whether it's having a lunch date by yourself, just having that time to just focus on you. Whatever it is that you started, if you started something new during this pandemic, this is a good time to reflect on those things and see if you want to continue moving forward with them. But remembering that taking care of yourself and having the time and the effort to put yourself first is not being selfish at all. So disregard that as being a selfish act. It's actually a very important and healthy act to maintain your overall well-being and your social vitality. And so, maybe you're the type that second guess yourself, or, you start things and you don't finish. This is a good time to just kind of focus on what is it going to take to help you to move forward and get these things done. And whatever it is, like I said, if you started some new things for yourself during this pandemic, maybe this will become part of your new normal and something that you can build on as we move forward throughout the years. So, also, when we're talking about our social vitality and taking care of ourselves, that's important because we're not only taking care of ourselves, but we're taking care of our families. Because if we're healthy and we're happy and we're able to function, um, even if it's just by you taking a 15-20 minute nap that you don't normally take, when you wake up, you feel more energized and you can focus more. Whatever it is that you're doing to take care of your social vitality and yourself, it helps your family. And you'll also be able to teach your children and your family the importance of taking care of yourself. So not only is it good for you, but it's good for your family. It's a good teachable moment for your younger children that you show them that you're able to take care of yourself. And so, also, when you're thinking about moving forward during this time, uh, reflecting on those deep connections, those relationships. Um, are these relationships stable relationships? Are the friendships I have stable? Are they healthy for me? If they're not healthy, this is a good time to evaluate and say, can this relationship be changed to save it? If not, do I need to move on? And this is another way that you're able to take care of yourself. Because if you're in a relationship or have friendships that are toxic and they're not doing any good, they're causing more harm than good for you, then you want to be able to separate from those things to take care of yourself and your family. Because if you're having those relationships or friendships drain you and take away more than they're offering or bringing into that relationship with you, then that could affect your family and how you are able to deal with your family. If you're tired, if you're just drained and you're putting more focus on saving those relationships or whatever's going on, then you won't have as much time with your family and your children. So, evaluate those friendships. If you need to take time, like I said, to reflect on it, think things through, and walk through it, this is a good time to do so moving forward. During the pandemic, everything, kind of shut down for a minute. We had these restrictions and mandates. So it gave a lot of families time to spend at home together. Not all families were able to do so, but some families were able to spend more time together at home. So it gave us more time to spend time with our families. And just reflect on what's important and prioritize those things in our lives that are important. So whatever happened during that time, if you realize some things were not working in your favor, things didn't they just weren't where you need them to be, and you made changes, then this is a good time to see, hey, am I going to keep these changes in place that I made and move forward with those. Just having that time to connect. If this is a relationship or friendship that's able to be saved and you want to keep this relationship, what are we going to do to make sure we continue to connect and nurture these relationships? And especially if it's with a loved one, or someone that has contact often with your children, you can nurture those relationships and show and model to your children how to maintain relationships and friendships, and when it's safe and healthy to move on from those relationships. And then, when we have our circles, our inner circles, making sure whoever we have in our inner circles are having the same energy that we have, so that it's not causing harm to ourselves and our families. And again, nurture those relationships. If it means you initiating a phone call or sending a message, right now, a lot of us are probably tired of Zoom and conferences and things of that nature. But if you have a friendship or a relationship that maybe this is the way you're going to maintain it because of distance issues right now, maybe you're in different areas, but you want to maintain that relationship or that connection. If you have to continue those Zoom calls or those phone calls or however you're connecting with that person, just evaluate and see if this is the right thing to do to maintain that connection. And so, and saying all that, being okay with letting go when it's time to let go. Sometimes we have to give ourselves those self talks and reminders that it's okay. It's okay if relationships don't always work. Some things happen and things happen and come in seasons in our lives. So maybe that season is up and it's time for a new season, a new chapter, a new beginning. So maybe that friendship you had has not lasted. Don't dwell on the negative things. Try to find the positive in that and be open to forming new friendships. If you have time, maybe reflect on what happened in that situation. Was it something you caused on your part? Taking accountability. If it was something that you caused to sever that relationship, or if it just was not working, or that friendship. But be open to having new friends and new relationships form. Don't close things off. Maybe you started a new hobby during the pandemic, or maybe you joined a different group or a club. These are ways to form new relationships. So don't just, if one relationship or one friendship isn't working out, don't just think that they're all over because something happened and caused that one to end. And if you're able to maintain friendships and relationships, value those friendships and relationships. Do what you have to do to make sure they sustain. And also just remember that each relationship you have with a person they're different. You may have one friend that you connect and on a different level than you connect with the other friend, or maybe you met one friend through a hobby, maybe you met another friend through work. You meet people and you form friendships based on different situations. So again, don't be closed off to just having friendships or relationships in a certain area. Be open. And this also is a good way to teach your children how to build friendships and, to just realize that everyone has differences and we're all diverse. But that doesn't mean that you can't be a friend to someone who's not exactly like you or not in your inner circle already. So it's, again, a good teachable moment, a good way for us to show our children how to start friendships and maintain those friendships. And then when we're looking at, during the pandemic, again, things were shut down. Some people may have felt a little more isolated than others. Maybe you weren't in the same area with your friends or your family. So your relationships probably seemed really distant and strained, and you started to look at things in a more spiritual way. But again, you can also have those spiritual relationships. Those people who support you in a more spiritual way. They're supporting you. They're working with you. They're there to help guide you. And just remember, you don't have to go through things alone. Everyone has a purpose and a reason for being. So you might connect to someone in a more spiritual way. So you have those spiritual friendships. And then just make sure that if you have those friendships, again, you're nurturing those relationships, you're finding what works for you, and remembering that you don't have to go through things alone. You have others there to connect and support you. And as parents and caregivers, it's important to remember that you can't focus everything into into your children and your family. You have to also have time for yourself. So you have to maintain those connections that you establish. So those friendships that you have to maintain those as well. Because parents need friends too. You need those connections. No one is an island. You're not here alone. So you're gonna and I want to make sure that you have someone that you can connect with as well. Maybe it is someone you met through one of your children's sports teams or an activity that your child is involved in. That's fine. Then maybe your children can interact with their child or children and they form relationships as well. But don't go through things alone. Utilize your connections, your supports that you have. And then, moving forward, we're all, looking at the weather is warming up, things are improving. It's a little safer to go out and do more things now. So maybe this is a good time to think about how you can work on those friendships and those relationships. It might be maybe setting a lunch date with some friends or family that you haven't connected with in person, since the pandemic occurred. Or maybe it's just having a visit to a friend or a loved one. But this is a good time to, again, interact with others. Some people haven't hugged a loved one in over a year. You haven't been able to spend time with your family and your friends in person. So this is a good time, if it's safe to do so, and everyone feels comfortable, of course, to work on those relationships. And just remind yourself that it's okay to start and take those small steps until you feel comfortable doing so. Maybe it'll start with a visit where maybe you have a 15-minute visit and then you turn into an hour lunch date, however, whatever, work your way up until you feel comfortable. But if it's safe to do so and you're all comfortable, don't just jump into everything at once if you don't feel comfortable in doing so. But again, if everyone feels comfortable and it's safe to do so, spend that time interacting with your friends, your loved ones, those who you have those connections with, and work on those relationships, because it's just not the same. We've been talking and communicating through Zoom calls and phone calls, but it's just not the same being able to reach out and hug or touch that person that you're connected with. So, again, remember to take care of yourself, work on your own social vitality, how you feel about yourself, where you feel you're headed with all of this. If there's some things that you started during this pandemic and you look forward to keeping them going, maybe this is a good time to share those thoughts and ideas with your friends and those who you have relationships with, and maybe take on some of their ideas as well, and just see how you can work on maintaining relationships and improving those that are in need of improvement, because the pandemic may have strained a few relationships, but it's not to say they're all over, and it's just a good time to reflect on where to go from here. So thank you for joining us today. Take care of your social vitality. We look forward to seeing you on the next visit, and until then, enjoy the rest of your day.